Welcome Virgo to your in-depth year 2026 horoscope forecast. I'm going to share with you first of all some of the big themes for the year ahead. Then on screen I'll share the solar return right at the start of the year, which provides an influential backdrop for the whole 12 months, and there is a glorious influence in there for you. I'll then go through all the key dates, the big changes ahead, to give you a clear timeline of what you can expect for the next year. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. It's a pleasure to be with you. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now and help it to continue to thrive. As you go into this new year, the Eclipse series, which has been prominent over the last year or so, is still active. In fact, if we go back to September, you'll remember on the 7th of September, the lunar eclipse in your opposite sign was in Pisces, and then you had the solar eclipse, the first for 19 years, on the 21st of September. Now, the solar eclipse is urging you to showcase your individuality. The lunar eclipses are in Pisces are reminding you of how you connect to others. So as we come into this new year, that's still a big theme for you. Now we're going to have two more eclipses across Virgo and Pisces in this new year. The first on the 3rd of March, the second on the 28th of August, but both this year are lunar eclipses. So that's where the sun and the moon are competing. Not so easy to create a more combined effort. But what you also have as you come into this new year is a fantastic alliance between Venus and Mars and the Sun in the sign of Capricorn, which shares your Earth triplicity. And that's very much about demonstrating your flair, but it can also be about sociability and warmth. But there are other threads of this year which are much more practical, not least Pluto continues its journey in your 6th house, urging you perhaps to think about different approaches to work, your physical well-being, kind of Virgo feel really and theme, and maybe where you feel things have gone a little stale in your life, thinking about where there could in some ways be some rejuvenation. And of course, Saturn, the planet of limitation, and Neptune, the planet of dreams and our ideals, they start this year in your sector of relationships. So that means, running on from that lunar eclipse of last September the 7th, if there are any ties that are fragile, those may show up quite early in this new year, I feel. But we're also going to see a new eclipse series starting in the sign of Aquarius, and that's on the 17th of February. That brings in an energy to echo that Plutonian energy of transformation around the practicalities in your life, but it's very late in the sign of Aquarius, and it's clashing with the modern ruler of the sign, Uranus. Now, Uranus over recent years, apart from 5 months last year, has been pushing you to be more daring, a bit more experimental, particularly in terms of travel and creating more personal freedom in your life. But this year, at the end of April, well, Uranus is going to move back into your sector of work, and it will connect back to that position of Pluto. So some kind of massive change about what you do for your work is definitely a prospect for this year. But if you're in an organisation or a role where you feel thwarted, it's not very creative, and it's creating a lot of stress, that solar eclipse at the end, or at the middle of February, is likely to flag it up for you. Now, we do also have Jupiter, the planet of hope, optimism and expansion, in a very friendly part of your chart. Now, it moved into that location last year, but then clashed with the position of Saturn. So there may have been some friendships that started to make way, but I think in the first 6 months of this year, there may be some new alliances that you're forging that could work out very well for you. But then Jupiter is going to relocate at the end of June into a deeper, more spiritual part of your situation. If you're interested in healing, it's going to go through a big growth spurt from that point. At the end of July, the North Node, being in your opposite sign of Pisces, will invert back into Aquarius. That's significant because that echoes that solar eclipse. They always work with the eclipses, the nodal axis, but also that position of Pluto. Because you're someone who has a real appreciation of dedication, of service, of doing things in an efficient way, in a way, the energy in Aquarius is quite provocative. It's asking you to perhaps think about things that have worked very well for you for a long time, that may have almost been metronomic in your life, but you're being asked to be very open-minded because some reforms may be needed, not least, not necessarily because of you, but because the world around us is changing so quickly. So just be prepared for that. And after the North Node enters your sixth house, we then have a solar eclipse in your 12th house, echoing the energy of Jupiter. So this year is going to see a big theme of actualizing your individuality, your talent, what you want in terms of justifying your life force, very first house, in terms of how you connect and collaborate with others. But there are some big shifts around your physical world, your practical realities, but also the more psychological domain is going to become much stronger in the second half of the year. Now that lunar eclipse, which occurs in the sign of Pisces on the 28th of August, really is the back end energy of the year. That's really significant for you. So the energies that you've been experiencing in trying to find that midpoint between what you need and how you collaborate, that's your chance to refine that. But the other thing to tell you is that your ruling planet Mercury is going to spend its retrograde this year in water signs. It begins with Pisces, it's then through Cancer, and then in Scorpio. That's intriguing because the first one is in your sector of relationships, second in the part of your scope to do with your friendships and group alliances, and the last one's to do with quick communications. And because of the watery energies of those three signs, being attuned to the emotion of all sorts of communication will be important this year. You can be very cool. Your analysis is your great strength, but also because you're very precise, it can see you zoning in on the detail of situations. And these watery retrogrades could push you in some ways to widen your lens and see things in perhaps a different way. You also start this year with your ruler Mercury in a tender location. But just before I go into that, I want to share with you about my unique offer. You can order your personal natal forecast for year 2026 now, and I'll give you the rest of this year free. But also you'll get 30% off the individual prices, and you'll get your life roadmap report in my special package. That really helps you to understand the patterns that have played out in your life so far. All of us. It's totally unique to each person. But understanding those patterns and matching them to the forecast will help you to make your moves in the new year much more shrewdly. But also in my special offer, you'll get your free general zodiac forecast for each of the 12 signs, but also your Chinese forecast, your Vedic forecast, and your love forecast too in my special booklets. Please see the link below for more. So on the screen now, I'm sharing your event chart. So you can see that Mercury, your ruler, is in the sign of Sagittarius. So for the third year running, in a sign that it's detrimented in. But it's pushing you to think about where you live and how you live there and who with. But look at the location of Neptune and Saturn, but critically also the midpoint between the moon in Gemini at the top of your chart and the sun in Capricorn in the radiant 5th house. That midpoint's very close to Saturn. So I think this is going to be a very significant year for your relationships, but it could be as much about family and emotional relationships as much as a romantic one. Or in a romantic relationship, you could be encouraged, nudged towards being much more in touch with how things feel, not just how things appear. So that's really one of the big themes of this year. So as much as Mercury gives you a great ability to examine, sift through situations and try to get into the nub of things, you are being asked to just be a bit more conscious of how it feels and seems, particularly to others, because that gathering of energy in Pisces, along with the North Node, which will be reflected by the lunar eclipse of the 3rd of March, is really reminding you of the importance. It's not necessarily just what we want or how we say it, it's how it's received. And being attuned carefully to other people is one of the areas of growth that can occur for you this year. So in a very positive way, it could bring someone new and exciting into your world, particularly Virgo, because the standout feature of your solar return is the gathering of Venus, the Sun and Mars in your 5th house. The 5th house can be about play, can be about sociability, can be about children if you have them or you'd like to have them, but it also can be about romance. And having Venus and Mars together in the earthy Capricorn, which shares your triplicity, why not? That's absolutely divine. Mars also loves being in Capricorn. It's in its exaltation. So this is encouraging you, whatever you want to manifest, how you set your intentions, particularly with that solar eclipse of last September, you have a strong chance of achieving it if you can stay very attuned to your connections to others. So you're going to find yourself, if you want to, much more interactive with other people. And if you have got talents which you really want to bring to the fore, this is a great opportunity to showcase them. But I also want to make you aware that your ruler Mercury is in a quincunx, a 150-degree angle with Uranus. If you are in accommodation which is too small, I feel that Uranus can make you very restless, because what we have with a quincunx is a lack of integration. So Mercury in the 4th house can see you think a lot about what you need around home, family, your emotions, but expressing it can be a bit more challenging, particularly that square to Saturn and that distortion to the right angle to Neptune. So what Uranus can do at times is suddenly push into the open some of your frustrations, but not necessarily in the way that you might choose. Also, the moon is right at the top of your chart, suggesting that it will be more difficult than usual to disguise how you feel. Many of us can be quite private about our deep inner world. One way or another, it could be that your feelings do show up this year in a much bolder and out there way. But if that happens, I think you should seize the opportunity. So recapping on your year, Virgo, you're a sign which is very invested in providing support and services to others. You have a strong sense of duty. You're very practical. You like to achieve tangible outcomes. That's all wonderful. But the energy from that solar eclipse last September is reminding you that all of us have individual needs as well. If you're too bogged down in providing what other people want, however noble it may be, you may be missing a chance to flag up your uniqueness. Now that gathering of energy, that stellium in Capricorn at the turn of the year, really is fabulous for you. It's going to give you a greater sense of personal confidence about your attractiveness and allure, which is also very, very positive too. But the energy in your 7th house, which is where we need to connect to others, is very profound. The node to begin with, the North Node, the midpoint, the Sun and the Moon, the yin-yang of the chart, but also that's close to Saturn and Neptune. So if there's a relationship that's not working, I think it's going to be something you do need to grapple with. You can't just push that to one side. And if you are feeling closed in emotionally or physically in where you live, Uranus is suggesting that you may find that you have quite itchy feet, even if you're someone who's quite adhered to routine. And then the energy of the new eclipse series coming between Aquarius and the sign of Leo plus also the North Node coming into Aquarius and the existence of Pluto is suggesting that working on the details of things in the way you have in the past could be right for some kind of reboot, because Pluto encourages us to let go of what's no longer serving our purpose. And also Saturn and Neptune will move from their early locations in your sector of relating early in the year, late in January and mid-February, and come together in an exact alliance on the 18th of February, suggesting that some big transformations are ahead for you throughout year 2026. I hope you have a fabulous year. If you'd like to have or get some more information, please join me daily at patrickarundell.com. You can watch and read your free daily, weekly, monthly, yearly general horoscope, your love horoscopes, your Vedic horoscopes, and also enjoy my stunning 3 card tarot. Take care, all the best, and bye.